New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Oh, gosh, I thought someone was missing for a moment there.
Well, here we are, Rockin the Love. Once again on Wednesday, May 20th. Is that true?
May 20th. You are correct. Bingo.
It's crazy that we're going into June.
Yeah, one more month and we'll be at the end of the first half of the year.
Well,
2026 is flying by like nobody's business, but it's all of our business. So there you go.
you're full of business.
I'm full of business. That's right.
All right, so this is Rockin the Love. I am Robyn Rice Olmstead.
And I am Gil William Olmstead, and we come to you every Wednesday speaking to you about all kinds of fun things around the joy of relationship, which I must remind you is truly joyful. Just keep that in mind as we move forward today. So
That's very ominous.
it
That's
is,
like
isn't it?
very cryptic. Thank God Shay's here because she can always decipher what you're talking about.
Well,
And she generally appreciates it. So that's a good thing.
see, I have my audience.
That's
you
right.
have yours.
That's right. And I'm glad. I'm glad that she's here to support you and us in understanding each other better. Anyway, thank you, Shay. Thank you, Shay, for being out there. Thank you, all of you, for being out there, especially my favorite Dodger fans out there. You know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Who are those?
It's my people.
Okay.
And the Dodgers did win last night 5-4. It was tied at 4-4 for a long time. So it's a very exciting thing. I know other people are going, I don't know what's so exciting about that, but that's what makes us all unique individuals.
How many games into the season are we?
About, I don't know how many,
Like
but I know,
15 or something?
I know, no. This is their 30th win.
30th win. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're still like a third of the way through then?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still a long way to go.
There's a long way to go.
That's where those of us who don't fully understand baseball get hung up. Like, why are you so concerned about last night's game? There's 427 more left to go.
Exactly. And that takes us right into our topic of firing on all cylinders. When a relationship fires on all cylinders, it doesn't just go for the first few games. You're in the game the whole time. There is no time off from the game. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what that means. What does it mean to fire on all cylinders in your relationship? And, whether it's romantic or platonic or creative or communal, there's just moments when everything is firing on all cylinders and communication flows and things are going well and all of those things. And then when it's not, what happens and how do we maneuver that?
Yes.
And get back to baseline.
Well, let's say hi to our good friend, the Reverend Dr. Sherry Greer, who's joining us today.
Yay!
Hi, y'all.
Hey, Reverend Sherry. We just love it when you're here. Reverend Sherry is an amazing woman who does many workshops. You should look her up on her social media and all that good stuff. because she's always got something in the mix or something to say. So glad you're here. Glad all of you are here. Feel free to chat with us in the chat. Let us know you're here. And we're going to go on to talk about our week.
How was your week? I caught you off guard, didn't I? Asked you first.
No, you didn't catch me off guard. I don't know how my week was. It was pretty good. I mean, generally everything's pretty good. It's busy. And I thought on some level there'd be a break after your big ordination and all those things, but there's just more to do. And I'm finding myself a little concerned with how to make it balance.
Yes, I hear you. There is a lot. There's a lot going on, and I think that plays into our theme today too. I think sometimes we're running at red line rather than just firing on all cylinders.
Running at red line.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, it means we've got the engine revved up so high that it's redlining. It shouldn't rev any higher. And if you stay there, it eventually breaks down because it can't sustain it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
I just want to say, Jane is in the house. Jane Silvertooth. Hi, welcome, Jane.
Nice.
Good to see you here. Because look, she's firing on all cylinders.
That's right.
She is not excluding the happiness to Wednesday. All other days. I like it.
I like it too. So the week was good for me too. I think it was there was some downtime this week, a little bit, and it's just quite amazing how much can happen. But there were a lot of things that in our community that felt kind of sad, if you will, and also just the circle of life and walking through those things and supporting the people that need support and being with the people that need to laugh. And life is interesting when you're back and forth around all of that. And so I just share that to say that it's life is a challenge. Being in relationships with different people is a challenge all the time because you're always walking into someone else's world, if you will. So there.
Interesting. Yeah, life is life, and I mean it's just what it does, and it's happening out there for everybody. I know that everybody in my world and on my social media worlds, there's a lot of transition going on. There's a lot of changes. And, then we're always faced with exactly what's happening in the world. And that's, whether we see it or not, constantly changing. Even if it looks like we're stuck on stupid, we are moving. And I'm not being personal, I'm just saying. So anyway, all right, good.
Was that a song?
Stuck on Stupid?
I'm stuck on stupid. Oh no, that's a different song. I'm sorry.
Okay, y'all. Ricky Byers called him up to sing last week at her concert. And
now I'm doing Barry Manilow tunes.
Okay.
From being stuck on Band-Aids. So there you go.
Now you're thinking you can sing. Forget that. All right. So for any of you that don't know, when Gil and I were in the choir, I used to pray like really hard, like one of my hardest times in life, when Ricky would call on the Gil's section to sing, because I didn't want him to be singing off key and her to hear. So singing brings up a particular angst in me. But you did really great last week. I was super proud of you. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now it's time for the good news. We're going to do this segment that we like to do, especially in these trying times, of letting you know what's going on out there good in the world, because there's so much good that happens that we never see or hear about or get to talk about. So we're going to start with some stories that are good out there. What do you got?
Well, I actually have a story about Prince William from England. And so here's a little tidbit that King Edward III in 1337, okay, get that, just hang on to that for a moment, 1337, set aside 128,000 acres of land for the monarchy, basically. And the idea was that you could maintain it and farm it and raise cattle, whatever you were doing with all this different land, and maintain income. Okay. Well, it gets handed down and to the first son of the monarch, and so Prince William's taking control of it. And his decision recently is that he's going to sell off 20% of it, and that money, and potentially some of the land itself, will go into building affordable housing and restoring nature. So he's looking at generating about 600 and some billion dollars.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken. Did I say billion?
Anyway,
it's a lot. And what I did find interesting was I saw a map, and in my head when I first read this story, I thought it was going to be all, 128,000 acres, some block of land somewhere. But the reality is it's little blocks of land all over Great Britain. So he's selling some off in rural areas. He's selling something off in like part of London. Very interesting.
That's great.
But with the proceeds, the intention is to make sure that some affordable housing gets built and to support nature. So yes, he has a lot. Yes, all those things. But when someone actually decides to do something positive with it, I think it's worth noting. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's amazing, and it's really interesting. In this thing we call evolution of life, like it's interesting to watch the dynamics of things changing in the world, and just the way, the monarchy and government in England and all those things, and the way people have held back and been reserved, and now they're not holding back as much. They're kind of living into a new dynamic.
Well, and you think about this story, we've never done it that way before. This land has been the monarchy for 700 plus years.
Right.
or right around 700 years. I mean, we think we haven't done it that way when we did it the same way 20 years ago, I mean,
right.
This is a long history of tradition.
Yeah.
That's being, somebody's taking initiative to say, okay, do we really need this? Can we do something better with it? So,
and in that, they may be starting a new tradition.
Right.
So that's beautiful. Well, my story is about, it actually reminded me very much of us. And it is, it started with, the article is called "A Typo Spells Romance" for R.P. Salazar's. And this is a story about a romance that began with the typo because Rachel Salazar was living in Bangkok, Thailand, and Robyn Salazar was living in Waco, Texas. And their email addresses were nearly identical, except that Robyn's didn't have 2 numbers at the end, and Rachel's did. And so one day, Robyn got an email that wasn't for him. And he thought about it, and he said, he figured, hey, my email's almost the same. This probably got sent to the wrong person. And so he forwarded it to Rachel, and he added his own little message that said something like, "Hi, Rachel, it seems this message came to me instead, blah, blah, blah. I'm in Waco, Texas, and you're in Bangkok. How's the weather? Have a great day." you know. And she got the email, and they started having conversations. Then every conversation they had, then they had their own email exchange, and then that every conversation they had just felt so natural and exciting. And Ruben was excited that there was a person halfway around the world but he could still tell her things, and he said it was kind of like sending a message in a bottle. and then he happened to put the mouse hover the mouse over her name in an email, and her picture popped up, and he was like, "Wow, she's really beautiful. How can I make this picture bigger?" And he was a little bit more intrigued, and then she said that he started to play an important part in her life, and they just she consciously realized it. And here, this will remind you, Ruben would stay up late when it was morning for Rachel, and the two would chat for 4 or 5 hours.
No.
Yeah.
That's a productive use of time.
He says that, but that's exactly what we did in our life. Anyway, they knew they were falling in love back there. Finally, she planned a trip, and she didn't tell anyone, because she knew everybody would say she was crazy. And
tell her she shouldn't go.
You're foolish to go halfway around the world to meet some strange guy you've never met, and blah blah blah, and that will be crazy. And then on the other end, Ruben was so excited; he had told every relative, every friend, and every coworker he knew. And so she came. Her trip lasted like 8 days, and they were dancing one night. And Rachel told him that he was the sweetest guy she'd ever met. And at that moment, Ruben knew he needed to say or do something, so he didn't lose her. So he got down on one knee and asked her to marry him.
Oh, wow.
He proposed on their 6th day together. He said, and she said she knew it was coming, but deep in their heart, they just knew it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And they were married on November 24th in 2007.
Oh, wow.
I trust they are still married.
2007. Okay. So we only have 5 years on them.
Yeah, but it's an interesting story, truly. I mean, and I think it goes into our topic of, firing on all cylinders, because that is one aspect of when in any arena, right? Not just romance, but there are things that when you are absolutely sure and positive of,
Right. And do we risk whatever the thoughts are on the other side of that?
Right.
And in order to take advantage of what we know in our hearts.
So those are the questions. So when you think of a relationship firing on all cylinders, what does that feel like in your body, and what does it mean to you? That's what we're going to explore when we come back. So don't go away. Stay right here. Come right back to New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you. Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk. Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. Center for Spiritual Living Denver. Unity of Garden Park. New Thought, Philadelphia. The Sunshine Cathedral. Unity of Savannah. And the Olmstead Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network.
Hello and welcome back to Rockin the Love. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and we are happy to be with you this wonderful Wednesday in May. Oh my goodness, I hope the weather's great where you are. It's pretty nice where we are. We're staying at a nice 75, 80 degrees. It's pretty good. Nice warm day, but not too hot. We live in the desert, so sometimes in the morning you feel the sun and you think, oh my gosh, it's going to be really hot. And sometimes it mellows out a little bit as the day goes on in terms of the feeling of the sun. But anyway, here we are.
Here we are. And today we're talking about firing on all cylinders. Oh, 52 and cloudy in Ohio.
Yeah, I can't vouch for Ohio.
All right. We're talking about firing on all cylinders. So what does that mean to you? What does that look like? We're talking about in relationships. And that could be in relationship to yourself. What does that mean? What does that mean for you? Let's talk about it in a relationship.
Well, do we know what it means, period?
Well, I don't know. Do you have a question about it?
No, well, I'm just asking because, basically it comes from a reference to ICE engines, internal combustion engines, and firing all cylinders. When the thing's running properly, then each of the cylinders are running perfectly and everything's firing timed right and all that kind of stuff, and everything's good. And so we think of that in terms of a relationship or whatever. I think we often think it's running perfectly. Everything is running perfectly. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing that feels uncomfortable. Everything is hunky-dory.
Okay.
How's that?
That's good.
Okay.
So is there like something for you that you know you're good when you know you're good? Like what does it feel like the flow or the dynamics of things like what?
It feels like you're in tune with, like if it's with myself, I feel like I'm in tune with myself. I'm following my personal direction. I'm in tune with you. It feels like I'm able to roll with any of the quote punches. I'm able to work through things, whatever.
Apparently Shay is challenged by this.
Oh, come on. Well, Shay, this is the introduction. Don't panic.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do. I think it's like that flow when you just know things are good. It's like those times when you've like on a date when the date lasted a long time and you just found yourself talking into the hours, into the late hours, and just that flow that all is well and all is in sync, right? So what are the cylinders of a relationship? Oh, ye who are very technical about.
Oh, the cylinders.
What is important? What are the pivot points or whatever?
Well, I think there's connection, there's communication, there's service, there's solitude. I'll call it solitude. There's that self-care time. There's I'm making them up as I go here, but I think they're all important things.
Well, yeah, I do too. I think there's more. But is solitude the same as space?
Yeah, in a way. I was thinking of the not directly in the relationship time being with solitude. Yes, perhaps you can define solitude as actually being away on a mountain.
Well,
maybe it's just not with the other person.
It doesn't need to be a mountain. I mean, it could just be taking space to do your own thing. You could be in the backyard.
Yeah.
I think there's also trust, and I think there's also play,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's
Dancing.
I think there's like intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that there's.
So there's a lot of different aspects.
And
right?
yes, and I think there's also all of those are shared, but there's also a shared purpose,
Mm-hmm.
that generally we have in relationships.
Okay. So it might be a particular goal. It might be raising children. It might be, I don't know what, depending on what kind of relationship you're in. If you're in your work relationship, it may be creating some new thing. It may be finishing a project.
Right. And I don't think we need to go all the way out there right now. I mean, I think it just, no, because I think we need to fire on all cylinders here. I just think that there's obviously there's all different roads and divergences. Is that a word?
I don't think so, but it is now.
Yeah. So of those core pillars in a relationship, which one matters most to you?
Well, here I'm going to offer Dr. Sherry's comment that she lists loyalty, honesty, communication, compassion. There's so many things. So I just wanted to throw those in the mix. They probably fit into something we said, and or if we missed them, we should add them in. But I think what's important is being in service to one another and listening, being in communication. I don't know that it's always about communicating like we think of outwardly, sending something out, but communicating in the sense of receiving and putting stuff out, but balanced communication. I think those two are super important.
Communication and service.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it's communication and trust. I think trust also sets up like your not only trust, but like your trust of your emotional safety,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling safe. And I think, and then I think I'd have to add honesty is a big one. I agree with Sherry on that, and and I would say, and play.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question with all of this, and my thing is that when I think of this, I think of it seems very unattainable. How can we possibly be truly firing on all cylinders all the time, or at any time? What does that look like?
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because and it is interesting because really, if you talk about firing on all cylinders and you're thinking about it in terms of an engine and automotive stuff, if it's all tuned up right and timed right, it'll do that. But I think sometimes we are judging what that is so that we're not appreciating when we are doing that to the best of our ability in a particular point of time. Does that make sense?
I think so.
I mean, I don't think firing on all cylinders for us today is the same as it was 20 years ago. Do you?
Well, if we do it the same, or
No, if the quality outcome, the outcome is the same,
I don't know, but I think the values are the same.
the values, but the ability to actually function in that space.
Well,
Because I would hope we have grown and learned.
yeah,
and
that's
moved
what I was
forward.
going to say. I would hope that it's better,
Right.
although we could doubt that in moments.
Oh no.
We could.
Come on.
We could. No, I would say that. I mean, I would think that it grows with us. That we've grown and things change.
Because I kind of wanted. I just wanted to acknowledge the potential for us to get in a place where we think, in a relationship, in a group, whatever it is, that if we're firing all cylinders, it has this plateau place up here that we have to get to. And the reality is, are we doing the things we need to do? Are we communicating when things aren't going as well as they could be?
Okay.
Are we blah, 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 blah?
Yeah, and I think maybe for you, you might need to just let go of the car analogy a little bit, the engine analogy, only because it sounds like, unless I'm not understanding you, that that's up here. That's firing like working, firing at 100% all the time. And I would have to ask about the engine. Is that true that everything fires at the 100% all the time? It may appear like it does, but that doesn't mean that there's not excuse my analogies if I'm not right, but that may not mean that there's not a piston going out or wearing down or something that's going to need to be replaced in order to, not everything works at 100% all the time, even though the thing still functions.
Right. But if our goal is to always be functioning at 100%, then that means we're not allowing for what is 100% of where we're able to be right now. And that's what
I think that's
at.
exactly right. I mean, I think that it's like the Brene Brown quote. It's not that each of us have to bring 100% to the relationship all the time, but there is the point where you have to realize what you're bringing.
Yes.
And if I can only show up at 60, being honest with you and saying, I only have 60, and you going, not a big deal, babe. I got 80, so we're good. And then together we function at 100%. Or if I show up and I go, what, 120? Is that why 140?
You do math like our president.
Like your president. No, but I'm just saying we hit the 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So you balance each other out, and we balance out in all different things. Sometimes which of these important pieces, which cylinders are firing, has to do with it. You know, are we in a place where honesty is called for? Are we in a place where play is called for? Are we, you know, so are we putting those things into operation at the time they need to?
Right. So it's normal for one to not be to dip every now and then.
Right.
You know, so that's a normal thing. But the question becomes, how do we know the difference between a temporary misfire and a deeper issue? Right? How do we know? I really don't want to keep using this into service analogy all the way through this show. Okay? But how do we know? You know, how do we know? How do we know, you know, yeah, what's a temporary and what's a big fix?
Yes, and how do we know when we are okay? So I may be putting in my 50% of the relationship, you're putting in your 50%. And for me, that's 100% of what I'm able to put in. I may be putting in only 20%, but am I putting in 100% of what I'm able to put in right now? You know what I mean?
I do.
And I think that's part of where this thing goes. That we have to honor ourselves and our partners and our whoever it is with when we are doing well for where we are, if you will, when we are doing all that we can do considering where things are at right now.
Yes. And so it's, go ahead.
So that we're not stuck on, if it's not at absolute full out, what we might define as that we can, that really full out is a moving target. And you know, it's kind of like a graph. What you want is, you're going to see this, but what you want is a slow rise, maybe even a fast one, but you want to see it improve over time, and you'll have peaks and valleys in there.
Yes. So, I mean, I feel like yes to all that you've said. And yes, I think, you know, on a lot of levels, what's being called forth is forgiveness at some point when I can't get to wherever I think I should be, whether that's 100%, 80%, or
Right.
when we don't have what it is we think we should be giving. And I want to get to really like how do we become aware of these spots, and how do we maneuver in them? So like, what does it look like for you when you go offline in a relationship, and how do you, because I think there's something coming up that comes up in our bodies. And I mean, for me, I would speak to it in the language of when I get triggered, what triggers me, you know, or whether that's something somebody does or says, or some old core wound that comes up in my head, and whatever that is. So what does it look like for you personally when you start to go off?
Thank you, Dr. Sherry.
Yes.
Brought up communication and honesty, and then forgiveness. You said of who? Yourself.
It was of who? ? Yourself ?
I don't know. Anyway, forgiveness is key. I don't care who it's for.
Yes, I think, I think my answer would be yes. Forgiveness of yourself first. You know, I know that when I'm in these situations, sometimes when I'm not, I mean, no matter what it is, generally there's some level at which I'm not feeling enough. I'm not rising to the occasion adequately, you know, or doing what I think I should be doing, you know. And so, yeah, forgiving myself for not being able to fulfill that fantasy, and for, you know, and just allowing myself to be where I am.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I feel selfish oftentimes when we're in a situation where I'm feeling like we're out of tune, but I'm trying to get you to understand me, because that's just a personal thing that I think is important in the moment. It's not necessarily important to our relationship, but it feels like it to me, And so I think there's that where we tighten up at some level in relationship. We tighten it down, and that's when we have to rethink what's going on and revisit forgiveness of self and others.
So, yeah, and what comes up for me when you say that is that on some level you're fighting to be right.
Sometimes, and I think less than maybe. See, and this is where, are we firing off all cylinders? Are we doing our best? That fallback is not the necessarily automatic fallback. It may be judged as that by others, but I know in myself that's not as much of a fallback as it once was. I can see the change.
I hear you.
If I give myself the opportunity.
If I gave it different words, would it make a difference? Like, because I feel like at the bottom line, the core thing is fighting to be right. And there's no judgment on that. I think that we all do that. That's survival. That's like if I said, is it fight or flight? And if it's fight, it would be, you're anchoring that, we could look at it like affirming, blah, 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 whatever, different words. I just think, that's part of the thing. Or when if somebody else goes off in our relationship, well, how do we react to that? Do we fix it? Do we try to fix it? Do we, freeze? Do we overfunction? Do we withdraw? Do we blame? Do we project? What do we do? What is our go-to thing? I want to acknowledge whatever Shay said, but that's my next question. I much prefer the energy of grace rather than forgiveness, unless there's an actual trespass. I believe if you're doing your best with what you've got in the moment and it's lacking, grace is kinder.
So I'm gonna chime in on that, Shay, and say another part of grace and forgiveness and understanding and compassion and all of that is that we realize that we each interpret and get different energy from different things, different words, different ways of communicating, different, all kinds of things. And so sometimes I think what you just said in response to Sherry's idea of forgiveness is perfectly fine, but it might trigger someone else to go, well, why does she think forgiveness isn't okay? And I know that's not what you said. What I'm getting at is that your sense of what grace is may actually be exactly what someone else's sense of what forgiveness is. And I think those are the places where it gets particularly interesting to really listen to one another and be okay and go, oh, I hear you. I hear that. I hear how that lands for you. And then moving forward. And sometimes I know for me, it's hard to hear where something lands with someone because they don't feel like they understood what I said. I don't feel like they got where I'm coming from. And then I get stuck.
Yeah, that well said. Thank you. Because I do think I love the word grace, and I
Oh,
love
yeah.
I love that feeling and that thought, and for me they are kind of combined in that if I can give myself the space to let go of the idea in the way that I'm holding it, that is grace to me. And so I do agree that grace and forgiveness play a key role in all of that. So
Mm-hmm. What I'm hearing, Shay, is that if there's forgiveness, it sounds like something was wrong. Whereas if there's grace, there's an understanding that there's just something that's in the mix that needs love and attention. It's kind of how I hear it.
yeah,
So yeah, and again, I hear you. I hear you. That's a totally valid perspective.
yeah, and back to whatever I said it about, I was talking about myself. So I was having the inner dialogue with myself, letting myself, forgiving myself
Mm-hmm.
for what I don't remember now exactly what I was saying about it, but in this moment I'm saying forgiving myself for holding that person in captive in whatever story I have about them. Hold it for me it was about holding myself and my story about whatever. They don't love me, they don't hear me, they don't see me, they don't like me, they don't whatever. And really acknowledging for me that it starts with me. So I have to come to for me, I have to come to conclusion with myself. And I have to come into alignment with myself before I can really be in alignment out there. Because if I'm fighting for my story or if I'm trying to get someone else to understand, my experience is it doesn't really work. And I'll let you talk, but we're coming close to the end of the show, and I really want to get to some questions and things that might help us come back to baseline, because at the end of the day, that's the first thing we have to do. Is find that place in ourselves. So go ahead. And then
I just want to say you said something interesting in there. You said something about I think you said capturing other people, holding them captive in our understanding of something
in our story.
And I thought that was incredibly insightful and valuable to remember, even in this whole idea of running at full capacity. If something is gumming up the system so that not only it may not be functioning right, but it's holding something else back and causing malfunction somewhere else, that's contributing to the downfall of the whole system. We're actually creating the situation. And I think that's a really interesting thing to see, because everything has to be free to do its part.
Right.
And if we're feeling stuck, we can't do that. So go ahead. What are the questions?
Well, no, and I think, it's a great point. And that's, Gil and I were having a discussion earlier. It's really, about getting back to the baseline to where we can remember why we're here in the first place. Like, can we ask ourselves in the midst of all of that stuff that's going on, am I happy to be here? Is this where I want to be? And really look at that again and then operate from there. Well, yes, I am. Using us as an example, I'm in this relationship. I've been married to this man for a long time. I love him and I want this to be successful. Can I then operate from there? Or if it's your job or if it's your kids are a little bit harder on the site. But, can we do that? So how do we do that? How do we get back to baselines? How do we regulate, our nervous system and all of those those things that happen in those moments, because our body tempo gets tight, or our head starts to hurt, or whatever happens, and in that moment, what do we need to do, to take, to feel safe enough to keep talking, or to even be in the same room with the person, or whatever that is. So yeah, I think that whatever the questions are for you, I think there's questions that reset our story, or the story of what's happening, and the inquiry into what we're telling ourselves in that moment. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and yes, coming back to baseline is key, and realizing why we're in it. I think that is what we're always doing all the way through our life, is determining if where I'm putting my energy, where I'm putting my work, where I'm putting my love, if that's where I want it, where I'm feeling that it's being received, it's being used, it's being whatever. And that's true in our jobs, in our communities, in our any type of situation where we're with other people. We're constantly evaluating that. And if we can't get to our why, we can't get to our yes, then I think we're stuck.
Yeah.
I think well, maybe we're not stuck. Maybe the point is, if we can't get to that, then we need to think about whether or not it makes sense to be where we are, or are we there for some reason other than the benefit of all in that situation.
Yeah.
And
Dr. Sherry says, very interesting, it begins with us, ourselves, not the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And damn if that isn't what we keep on learning, that there's no getting away from it, right? It always comes back to us, but it's so true. It's so true.
Well, I think it's more like we keep on not learning, but that's my own experience.
But I mean, there are questions you can ask yourself, like, what am I telling myself about this situation? And I don't know. For me, I'm just going to say, generally in a situation like that, I can let go of being right. It doesn't matter if I'm right or not. It matters more getting to the underlying issue. It doesn't matter if I slammed the door and that was a sign that I was super angry, and if I want to say I didn't, that the air just blew the door shut, whatever. That's not the issue. That's like that's the fluffy stuff. That's the story. That's the story we're making up. Like, the issue is deeper than that.
I hear you, but like as we were discussing, if it's sometimes hard to go to that deeper issue if you feel like you can't acknowledge just the basic facts of what happened in some situation.
Okay, so you may have a partner where it's hard to acknowledge the basic facts of what's happening. So how do we do that? How do we get to the questions that restore connection?
Right. We either have to let go or something.
Well, that was profound.
Yeah, the something part
something.
I'll delineate later.
Okay. But I mean, I think the questions are like, what's the most important thing that needs to be understood here? What do I need you to understand? What do you need me to understand? And then what's the part that's hurting or overwhelmed or insecure or whatever the adjective may be? What is that part of you that is leading this conversation, right? I mean, I think, it depends. If one person is coming from hurt, the other person may be in defense, because that's the last thing they want to do is hurt the person. So they're going to defend by saying all the other things they do or whatever. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But so where are you coming from? What part of you is hurting? And I think as a recipient of that, it's about being able to allow and take that in and go and accept, like, wow, I didn't realize I hurt you. Not justify why you didn't mean to do it, or you don't feel that way when it's done to you that way, or any of those things, but really just be able to acknowledge and take that in. And what's one thing that you can do in the moment? If we're talking relationship, what's one thing you can do in the moment to feel closer? What is one step you can take to feel closer? And acknowledge, or not even acknowledge, check in. Are we on the same team? Are we on the same team? I mean, that's a big comment for me. I'm always like, I'm on your team, and do you know in that moment, I'm on your team or you're on my team? And sometimes the answer is yeah, and it doesn't feel like that was a good team move, or whatever. But can we acknowledge that the truth is we're in this committed relationship, we're in, whatever. And same, this all applies to work. It applies to everything, in different, you can shape them differently. But at the end of the day, it's the questions are what's the problem we're trying to solve? And is this about the past, the present, or the future, really? And I guess it would be like fear of the future as opposed to the future. And what matters most in this situation, and this is kind of with like are we fighting to be right? What matters most in a situation? Is it the outcome or is it the connection?
Mm.
And is there something we can both agree on?
So what's more important? The outcome, the appearance, the results, or the connection? That's what I'm hearing. Is that right?
I think so.
I think so too.
And I think Shay brought up when she said, "Oh, I will highlight this one because Shay's usually on Team Gil." Good one, Robyn. Am I happy to be here? So simple, so elegant. And I think, that's a question in some ways. I mean, and this is when we're in that situation, that's a question that is really about reopening our heart, right? It's like, am I happy to be here? What do I still love about this or us or, in this moment, even though there's discord happening? And I think there's a space too in relationships where we forget that we need to remember about who we are and who we are together and what we know. And so, what are we forgetting in that moment? What are you forgetting when you're talking to your partner or your friend or any of that?
Indeed. Well, wow. Thank you so much. That was very fun. Thank you, Reverend Dr. Sherry, for saying great conversation. We think so too. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us whenever you can. Thanks for liking us, liking New Thought, taking a moment to consider donating to help keep all of these type programs on the air. And we are about to wrap up. Do you have a final word of some kind?
Yes. Don't let your ego get the best of you. Surrender to the love that you are. That's it.
That's pretty good.
All right, everybody. So Rock the Love And just know that truly everything you do is changing the world. And we'll see you next week.
Bye now.
Bye.